Hey, Crystal Maiden here for part 3 of Twilight Princess. It was kind of weird, like for Zelda fans, when they actually called the game Twilight Princess. Like, imagine how people thought at the name Twilight Princess. I mean, I don't remember having a problem with it, but I'm also a girl, so there's that. The name does make sense, though, in the context of the story. So, it's just kind of weird that it has such a girly name, and yet it's this dark tone Zelda game with lots of creepy stuff happening. Like the Twilight. You know, I always loved the Twilight. Despite the creepy things that happen in it, I guess I just really love, in general, seeing when the sky is a different color than it normally is. Like, an otherworldly feel. Like, I love how there's this golden sky. And it's also cool how there's spinning flat black squares of darkness everywhere. And at that, they're rising out of the ground for apparently no reason, rather than just falling like rain. It all adds up to some ethereal, otherworldly feeling. The whole Twilight concept, it seems to basically come out of nowhere. Like, it's never mentioned again, and it was never alluded to in any of the previous games. Apparently all of a sudden now we're expected to believe there's always, well, I guess not always, but it's like they're trying to have this theme where light and darkness are a natural concept and there has to be balance between the two. Like it's Kingdom Hearts. I guess the darkness is supposed to be Twilight, even though Twilight isn't darkness, it's technically in between the two. I don't know what it is about Twilight that causes all these crazy effects. I don't know why Twilight, I mean, I guess Twilight is magical. And this is another really interesting, like this is sort of a change to this whole Zelda thing. Because we first see Zelda, and we think that she's evil because she's in a black cloak. Okay, why does the wolf calm down so quickly upon seeing her? I mean, I guess it's her facial expression, but he can barely see it. Like, why does he just assume that she's fine so quickly? I mean, I guess it's because her body language when she turns around and sees him. But it's like, how does she know right away that Link isn't just some regular wolf? And how does she see Midna when most people can't? Like, when the whole Twilight thing is said and done with, no one can see Midna at all. I guess it's because it's in the Twilight. But that's another thing. Why isn't Zelda a spirit too? Why, just because I guess it's only holders of the Triforce that are able to prevent themselves from becoming spirits? I like how Midna says the title of the game there. It makes you think that Twilight Princess refers to Zelda. Like, it's a good way of misleading you. But yeah, I don't know why Zant kept her alive. I don't know why he, like, kept her in a room. Like, it's not like he's going to marry her or anything. What's the point of him keeping her alive? Like, she surrendered her kingdom to him out of necessity. So, why is she here? Like, shouldn't Zant know that she's able to help him? I mean, I guess locking in her room was sort of a way to prevent that, but couldn't he just lock her in, like, the Cave of Ordeals or something? Was he too lazy to get her shipped out of the castle entirely? I guess that would have made it public that she was being deposed, but why, like, what's the point of taking over the kingdom if you don't want the people living in the kingdom to know about it? Like, everyone thinks that Zelda is still ruling. No one ever knows that anything's changed. What's the point of taking over Hyrule if no one knows that you've taken it over? Like, I guess he just wants to cause chaos in it. But you think he would cause even more chaos from emotional hysteria if they knew what he did to the princess? That's a pretty badass line. And so is that. And that. Like, Zant is a badass, intimidating presence for most of the game. So, it's kind of weird what happens later. It was cool how she had a sword, and she was about to challenge him. It's like, this is the first time we've ever seen Zelda, or any royal figure, use a sword. It would have been cool to, play as Zelda, in something other than that photorealistic, boring CDI game. I don't know, it sounds like a really cool concept. Like Zelda being able to use a sword. Why are all these characters staring up at the castle? Do they know that something's going on? I guess they saw the Shadow Beast army rushing into the castle. Why didn't the Shadow Beast attack them? But this is a pretty creepy scene though. It accomplishes the atmosphere well, making you want to save Hyrule well. But it's just weird. Zelda is a princess. She says she's a princess right here, but she doesn't have any parents. It's never even shown that she has parents. So, does the royalty of Hyrule function so that she needs to get married to be called a queen? And she's just the princess now? So, I guess Midna's reaction here is supposed to be foreshadowing to the fact that she's not that bad. So it doesn't feel entirely like her character completely changes after she softens up. And here, she's facing away from her because she's really sad. You can tell. She's unhappy. But it's just so weird, why is Zelda, interacting with Midna like this? Why doesn't she just assume that she's an evil imp? How does she, if she knows what she is, but she doesn't say that she knows who she is until the next time we see her. So why was she interacting with Midna as if, she knew what she was and thus she could trust her? It just feels arbitrary. Just because she's a holder of the Triforce of Wisdom, it feels arbitrary how she's able to interact with Midna and no other human is. Just because she has a Triforce. Wouldn't her having the Triforce and thus being a bigger threat to Zant, wouldn't that just make Zant more likely to want to punish her? Make her a spirit? Make her something else? Why does Link get a wolf form that makes him more capable of achieving the challenges presented to him in wolf areas? If he wasn't a wolf, he wouldn't be able to complete his quests. Glitchers have actually found that out for themselves. So that backfired. I guess that's the whole point of the Triforce making him that form, so that he can measure up to the challenges ahead. See, that's a pretty creepy way. That's pretty creepy. But she never does this again. I'm guessing the reason she doesn't take advantage of this more is because no one can really see her except the holders of the Triforce for some reason. I'm guessing that's part of the inconvenience for her. We think at this point in the game that she's just an imp, and that's it. No one really knows who she is yet. So, it's only because of Midna warping you that you're able to leave the Darkened Realm. Everyone else is blocked by the Black Wall. And you think that news would have spread of this and made it a lot more... you think widespread hysteria would happen. But the people in Castletown, for example, don't seem to be aware of the walls at all. You know, what's weird is that later on in the game, she's able to be seen on the wolf's back just fine. But here, she can only hide in your shadow. I mean, I think it looks a lot better when she's visible on your back. But it is justified later on. It's weird how we never actually see Ordon being Twilight. We never get to see the people of Ordon suffering from the effects of the Twilight. We never have to go hunting for Twilight bugs in Ordon, which is good because that would just be padding. The whole searching for Twilight bugs thing, in general, kind of feels like padding. But it's a lot more tolerable than the Werehog. Like with the werehog, you have slippery controls, and yet you're expected to use platforming and trust that you won't slip off the edge into bottomless pits. Not to mention the fact that, like, sometimes when you try to grab onto poles or stuff, sometimes the werehog will decide to grab too late and he'll fall to his death. But the werehog was a lot worse than the wolf. Like, you had a lot more forced combat. Most of the time with the wolf, you can avoid combat altogether unless it's like the bugs. But you could tell that the Twilight bugs were padding because you don't have to search for as much of them in the HD version. But you still have to search for some of them because they still, I guess, feel the need to have padding there. They're just shortening it a tiny bit to make it look like they're trying to make the game better. I'll talk more about that later. The thing about Ordon as a wolf is that it's extremely railroaded, and that makes it very confusing trying to play it with past experience. Why the hell isn't the sword here? Why is it that you have to go through a bunch of events where you find out about the sword? And why do you have to get the shield first? Why can't it just be non-linear? It's so arbitrary. It's just so stupid. Like, it took me such a long time. Midna doesn't help you at all. I think it's really cute how he says, "Do you understand human words?" I mean, that is pretty cute. It's pretty realistic that you can't understand what the humans are saying. What's not realistic is being able to talk with the animals, since it's not like animals are just as smart as humans and have their own language to them. It's not like they're just as sentient as humans and the only thing keeping them from talking to us is vocal cords. Scientists would have figured that out from studying animal brains if that were the case. And I don't think anyone would really feel like eating them, you know? Not to mention the fact that even pretending that animal languages do exist outside of dolphins, it wouldn't make any sense for all species to be able to communicate with each other. I'm guessing it's just a magic thing, but the animals act like it's normal for chickens and dogs and wolves to be able to communicate with each other. Like, the chickens are not all like, "You can understand me?" Like, the cats aren't like that either. I like how this game has a more positive portrayal of cats than the Minish Cap. I thought it was badass how, like, it was really badass how he was posing with the hawk. Like, "My daughter, release her, and take this!" Like that was pretty badass of him. Like, he's supposed to be the town coward, but he looked really badass there. But anyways, the thing I was talking about with the cats was that in Minish Cap, they were portrayed as a nuisance, like they would attack you when you were tiny. But in this game, the cats and the dogs are roughly portrayed equally. Like, I think the cats and the dogs are cute. But yeah, why do you have to get the Ordon shield first? The explanation for it looking cheap is that it's not done yet. It looks done to me. It's perfectly functional. I guess they didn't finish its design. How would Midna know if it's cheap? I like how he's dedicated enough to protecting his family and stuff that he'll fight on even with injuries. What were those injuries? Like, how did he get those injuries? Like, did he get injured by monsters or something? Guess I wasn't paying attention. But his wife showing concern about him does make her more sympathetic. She's a very sympathetic character. I'm not sure why she's not Link's mother. But yeah, why the hell did I have to go through all that before I was allowed to get the scabbard? Why did I have to... I mean, I guess that they expect you to realize at the time that you progress. Finding the shield is what makes it get to the point in time where the scabbard is in the house. But they could have very easily not designed it like that. Not to mention the fact that, well, I guess Midna somehow knows that we're going to become a human again, and so we're getting a sword and shield for later. Except when we go to the Twilight, at first, she... Like when we go to the Twilight, she right away says that the weapons won't be able to hurt the Shadow Beasts. Even though later you can attack the Shadow Beast just fine with a sword. Even not the Master Sword, I think. I think glitchers have been able to do it. But yeah, it's like, first Midna wants you to get a sword and shield, but then she tries to use them in the Twilight as if that was her plan all along, only to immediately conclude that they won't hurt the Shadow Beast for arbitrary reasons. I don't know why the light spirits are based off animals. Like, they're gods, right? So why are gods not humans? Like, that's stupid. Like, they aren't as capable as humans, because they clearly... This guy's not bipedal, he doesn't have opposable thumbs. Shouldn't a god be, like, above a human? And thus, at the very least, be able to do all the same things that a human could do? This is just a goat. Like, all he can really do is hold things in his mouth and talk. It's not like he can, like, do anything with his hands. And, like, this is a monkey-like spirit. I guess that makes more sense because he has opposable thumbs. But then you get a snake later on. It's just weird. I guess it's supposed to represent their provinces better because Farron has monkeys and Ordon has goats. But the later ones don't really make sense. The music is good for making it ominous and stuff. I remember when I was a kid, I wished that we could make it so that the Twilight was always covering Hyrule, but without the negative side effects. Just because I liked the visual effect that much. Like, I liked how the sky looked, I liked the creepy atmosphere, the music. Like, I didn't even talk about the music yet. I love the music of the Twilight Realm. Like, it even has that... It's creepy and ethereal right from the very beginning. But yeah, I like how we just narrowly stop Ordon from being covered in Twilight, like right away. They could have very easily had you go through the Twilight in that previous wolf section. Okay, so there's a glitch where you can actually skip getting the sword and shield entirely by basically you lead the bubbling here like I'm doing, and then I think what you do is you jump attack twice while targeting the bubbling when he's here, and you're able to jump over the trigger on the ground that causes Midna to tell you to go back for the sword and shield. Because right after that trigger is this one. Like, the game will just assume if you come all the way here that you got the sword and shield. Or maybe you just have to hold down the B button and use Midna's... No, you don't have that yet. You get that here. The wolf combat is pretty bare bones. The only attack you'll ever want to do is the jump attack by targeting the enemy and then pressing A. See the whole mask thing? Like, the Twilight really like masks. I guess they're supposed to be like connected to Majora's Mask, even though Terma's in another dimension, but the Twilight Realm's in another dimension too. I really like how convenient it is. Like, I guess that's supposed to be the explanation. They bothered to make an explanation for where your items go when you're a wolf. But yeah, the wolf's combat is pretty bare bones. The B attack is very weak. You don't really ever want to do it. You only want to do the jump attack and that's it, which makes it really frustrating that there's no ending blow or anything like that. Just because they don't want it to be too violent by having Link tear up the enemies with an ending blow. Even though he literally jumps onto them and bites them over and over again, like with the Lizalfos and stuff. Like, that's not too violent, really? It's just so frustrating, like fighting Bubblins and Dark Bubblins as a wolf, and you knock it down and you have to wait for it to get back up. And you have the same problem at the beginning of the game with Link, because you don't get the ending blow until right before the first dungeon. I guess it's supposed to be there to make you better appreciate the fact that Twilight Princess introduces the finishing blow. That should have been in Wind Waker to begin with. But, yeah. I don't know what it is about the wolf that makes me more likely to want to do the jump attack, whereas I never used a jump attack with normal Link. Like, you can also do a spin attack with the wolf Link in exactly the same way, like, you rotate the control stick while pressing B. I guess the reason I don't do it is because I find it to be less reliable. Like, you spin attack, your spin attack range is so bad, And plus it doesn't feel like it does much damage. Even though it probably does. I think you can use the spin attack to defeat these guys without using Midna's attack. This skips getting Midna's attack and makes it impossible to beat the game because you can't use Midna's attack to beat the final boss of Lake Hylia. Like the giant Twilight bug. I really suck at not spoiling things. This game is like 10 years old or something, and no one's gonna watch this anyway, so I guess there's really no point in not spoiling stuff. I guess I'll try not to spoil things. But come on, if you're going to be watching this LP, you probably have already played the game anyways.